Howdy, partners! Welcome to the Haunted Chronicles, episode 108. Thank you to last week's guest, Randy Daniel of Big Bear Ghost Seekers, and that show is available on the on-demand section. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Lucky Charms, the crunchy oat cereal with a rainbow of marshmallow surprises, hearts, stars, moons, clovers, and diamonds. That's Lucky Charms, a General Mills product. I am Mr. Haunted, and co-host Jennifer Runyon is celebrating her birthday today by traveling to Europe to research the tatzelworm of the legendary dragon-like creature that lives in the Alps. And she's traveling around the Italy region looking for the tatzelworm. Other co-host Brock is out investigating the Mothman somewhere in the thicket of West Virginia. And so I'm going to bring tonight's guests right in so we could do our festivities. Tonight's guest, let me give Kayne and Debra a proper introduction. They have been practicing their bow hunting skills, computer hacking skills, and nunchuck skills, basically trashing the Haunted Chronicles green room. Investigators for the Demon Files on Destination America, Kayne Aites and Debra Aguayo. Fellas?
Hey.
Hi, how are you?
How are you? How am I?
Yeah, how are you, Jimmy?
Oh, man. I'm happier than the wattle-beaked puffin bird floating on a piece of ice across the placid waters of the South Pacific. Like, he's the King Henry VIII or something.
That is awesome.
Poetic.
That is so awesome.
Is that the first time you ever heard that expression?
It is.
In that length, yes. That's quite something.
I have. Our regular feature, we're going to get to all your stories. Our regular feature on the Haunted Chronicles every week is Scary Movie Celebrity Birthdays. That's where we give a actor or celebrity who's been in a scary movie, and they're celebrating a birthday next week, and you guess how old they're going to be. Some of these don't fit in that category, but who cares? You ready to play, guys? You're going to be playing along. All right. This is like stretching, before an event, before you play softball or football or something, you do stretching so you don't pull anything. I pulled a hamstring when Ralph was on, so it's good to stretch beforehand.
Oh, sure. Getting ready.
Our first celebrity is Alec Baldwin. He was in Ghosts of the Mississippi, The Shadow, and was Adam Maitland in 1988's Beetlejuice. How old will Alec Baldwin be next week?
Let's see. 58.
54.
58.
I don't know. I just worked a crazy shift at work. I'm brain fried.
58. But he looks 68.
Kayne, you are correct. He's 58.
Yes.
Awesome.
Or as Napoleon says, yes.
Yes. Our second celebrity tonight. Play along in the chat, fellas. Robert Downey Jr., who is in A Scanner Darkly, Gothica, and is Tony Stark in the Iron Man movies. Robert Downey Jr.
43.
No, Robert Downey Jr. is a lot older than that, I think.
What do you think?
I have no idea. I don't care. Okay, I'll play. All right. 42.
He'll be 51 years old.
What? Okay, now I feel really old.
That's so good, man.
And how about, you guys used to watch 90210 or Beverly Hills 90210?
No. I never did watch that, actually. But I do remember it.
Into it.
Yeah. I used to watch it.
Oh, you would.
Jenny Garth is celebrating her birthday next week, and she'll be celebrating her birthday with Dylan McKay and Brandon Walsh and Steve Sanders at the Peach Pit tonight. Kelly Taylor from Beverly Hills 90210, Jenny Garth. How old will Jenny Garth be?
Oh, she has to be like, you go first this time, Deb.
52.
Oh, no, like 44.
Wow.
He was older than me, I think.
Who gets 44? Kayne?
Me, 44.
So
Okay.
correct.
On the dot? It was 44?
Oh, poor.
Yeah.
I swear I'm not.
Poor girl. I gave her 52. Oh well, that's all right.
and
I
I
have a
think
lot of useless information stuffed in this head here. So, okay.
well, I got one more. Let's see. If you're 3 for 4, you're going to have to start your own psychic show. Eddie Murphy, actor comedian, who was in Beverly Hills Cop, Vampire in Brooklyn, The Nutty Professor, and The Haunted Mansion. Eddie Murphy.
Oh, he's like 58.
Yeah, he's older. I'm
I say
going with what you
58.
say. I'll take that.
All right, he'll be 55. Good guesses, though, guys.
Close.
All right.
And that does it for this edition of Scary Movie Celebrity Birthdays.
How many did I get right?
Deb, I'm not sure if you got any. I'll review the tapes. I think Kayne got 2.
Yeah, it's okay.
You know what? I have a special treat for you guys, but first, this is a world record amount of shares. And I promised when I first started this that I would thank everyone that shared the event page. And I never ask anybody to, but they just share it. And this week, I got 2 sheets full. I'm going to thank everybody right now so they get their credit. Okay, guys? So if you want to go to the store and get something, go now. It's going to be a while. Thank you, Nicholas, Colin, Robin, Laura, Heather, Briscoe Paranormal, Paranormal Planet, Rick, Electric City Paranormal, Sarah, Christy, Kelly, Denise, Tiffany, Shirley, Debbie, Eric, Kevin, Frankie, Kayne, Alexio, Valerie, Maggie, Corey, Jennifer, Patricia, Paranormal Cat and Amy, Karen, Carol, Natro Paranormal, White Owl Paranormal, Chad, Bobby Ann, Cliff, Paula, Randy, Brian on the Fringe, Cindy Femforce, Extreme Validation, Linda, Rob, Kelly, Corey, Jeannie, Michael, Ralph, Mary Virginia, and the Independent Paranormal Research Circle. Thank you all. And thank you. And I'm sure I missed a couple, but wow. Thanks, fellas. Am I on?
I hear you, Jimmy.
All right, good. All right. I have a little treat for you guys before we talk about your Demon File adventures. And it's called, I called it the Napoleon Quiz because I've been talking to Debbie probably for about 3 years and Kayne for the last year. And basically all we talk about is Napoleon Dynamite and send pictures back and forth. So I just have a few questions. The Napoleon Quiz.
Go for it. Let's see.
This will be much easier than the birthdays. All right. The first part is what character said these quotes from the Napoleon Dynamite movie? And I'll give you multiple choice if you can't guess right away.
Okay.
All right. This is the first quote. Napoleon, don't be jealous because I've been chatting online with babes all day. Besides, we both know I'm training to be a cage fighter.
Kip.
Kip, correct.
Yes.
Kip
Yes.
Dynamite said that.
Yes.
Uh-oh. I'll give you a buzzer on that one.
I get a buzzer?
Yeah. All right.
I think I get the buzzer.
Oh.
All right. Next question is not, and this is the way it's pronounced. I'm not saying it wrong. I am saying it wrong, but that's the way it was in the movie. Knock it off, Napoleon. Make yourself a dang quesadilla.
Oh.
Did Kip? I'll give you a multiple choice.
Yeah.
Kip, Pedro, Deb, or Grandma?
Grandma.
Correct.
Yes.
Very
This is
good.
awesome.
This is the best show ever.
I know. What do you? Hey, let me ask you one, Jimmy.
Yeah.
What are you drawing?
Oh, Liger?
Yes. Ding, 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 ding.
A liger. And I think I could tell you a little bit about a liger. A liger, it's pretty much my favorite animal. It's like a lion and a tiger mixed, bred for its skills and magic.
Exactly.
For extra bonus.
So far, we haven't came across a liger yet since we've been out.
I haven't either. And you think of all the places you've been and you haven't seen a liger.
Right.
Well,
all of the paranormal.
Hey, let's start the liger files. You know?
Yes.
I don't think that's been done yet. All right, I got another one.
Okay.
Let's see. All right. You think anyone wants a roundhouse kick to the face while I'm wearing these bad boys? Forget about it. Is that Pedro, Rex, Kip, or Don?
Go ahead, Deb.
I have no idea. I'm sorry.
I say Kip. Kip.
Oh, Rex Kwando said that. The guy from the Rex Kwando Studios.
Right. Yeah. Rex.
And the last few weeks, I don't know why we do this, guys, but we've been wishing our whale friends greetings, and we'd like to send them a message right now. Thank you to our whale friends that are listening. Wish you safe travels. I think Kayne and Deb left.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, okay, good.
No, we're here.
I don't speak well, but never know.
Well, that was whale speak for please listen to Kayne and Debra on the Haunted Chronicles Friday night. Okay. All right. The last multiple choice question.
Okay.
Okay. Who said this quote? And if anyone never saw Napoleon Dynamite, please go see it because I reference it all the time. Last week,
a great movie.
It was. Should have won awards and everything. Last week, Japanese scientists placed explosive detonators at the bottom of Lake Ness to blow Nessie out of the water. Sir Court Godfrey of the Nessie Alliance summoned the help of Scotland's local wizards to cast a protective spell over the lake and its local residents, and all those who seek for the peaceful existence of our underwater ally. Who said that famous quote?
Napoleon.
Correct, Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes. Hey, I am in Louisiana.
Good job, guys. Thanks for putting up with me.
No problem. You have to lighten the mood. For anyone who is just wanting to be stuck on paranormal stuff, you have to lighten the mood. It can't always be scary stuff.
Diabetes.
Right?
Oh, heck.
Diabetes.
Exactly. You'll get diabetes.
And honestly, guys, have we ever talked about ghosts or anything like that, or the paranormal ever? I don't think. We talk about Napoleon Dynamite, Mean Girls, Back to the Future, Grease.
Oh, wow.
I think we have.
We may have.
Just way back, yeah, a couple times.
Yeah, way back. Yeah, I think we did.
But it's mostly happy stuff.
Right. It's mostly happy. And I'm always curious. The first question I like to ask guests are, I don't know why I like the subject so much, but I'm curious to see if either of you had any experiences that you'd call paranormal during childhood.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Not really childhood, but in early adult, definitely.
Same here. All
right, please tell us, Deb first. Go ahead.
Oh, gosh. Well, when I was about 19, I moved into a duplex, and we had a poltergeist-type activity that would travel around in between the duplexes, and we all sat around the fire one night as, tenants and started swapping stories, and then we started realizing that none of us were actually going crazy and that we were all individually having occurrences on separate nights. So, for example, on a night that it was quiet in my house, it would be active in another, and it was pretty wild stuff.
Wow. Was it two
Definitely.
family that would travel back and forth?
I have no idea. I was about 19 during the time period, but we moved out shortly after that. But it was poltergeist type activity, and it would kind of rotate around between 5 different units.
What would it do?
In my apartment, it would turn the faucet on in the bathroom, and it was a crank faucet. It would open the cupboard and slam it in the kitchen.
What a treat.
Yeah, it was cool. Apparently, in one of the other residences too, there was like a blue orb that would appear and wake them up in the middle of the night, and another tenant would have a window open and shut. Just weird, random stuff.
Wow. And how about you, Kayne?
Yeah.
Well, it started when I was about the same as Deb, around late, around 19, 20 years old. And you guys will have to excuse me too. I've been sick all week, so if my voice cracks or anything. But anyway, I was at my grandparents' older house, and I was the only one there, and no one was living there at the time. And I just laid down to go to bed, and I felt, you feel that something's watching you. And there was a bathroom light that shone through the there was just a little sliver of light coming through the bedroom. Well, I felt that overwhelming presence there, and I kind of glanced over, and you could see this black figure standing. Well, it wasn't standing, it was like hovering at the end of the bed. And it was darker than the darkness in the room, if that makes sense. And it was just kind of hovering there, but it did not have a face. It didn't have any features. And it scared me so bad. Of course, I was a teenager. I threw the covers over my head, and I was just shaking. And after about who knows how long I laid there, I reached my arm out from under the bed and turned the lamp on really quickly. And I looked again, and it was gone. Once I turned the light on, but it was more than just seeing it. I felt it. And then once I reached up enough nerve, I ran through the house, turned every light on. And from that point on, I had other similar occurrences. But the main thing that happened to put me into even considering getting into paranormal research or anything like that was it's been about 10 years now. My family was attacked. One of my children was attacked, actually, physically, scratches. I mean, it was a very severe case, and where there was no doubt that it was something that was not normal. And I reached out to the church. They did not help. I went through several different avenues. And once everything was taken care of, after about a year, we moved from the home, and everything was taken care of. It's hard for me to talk about, so I don't like to get into too many details, because it was a pretty bad occurrence.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was it was quite significant time in my life. But afterwards, I got angry. My first instinct was to get after the trauma and everything. I got angry, and I wanted to know what this was that was after my daughter, and she, I believe, was a little sensitive, and it was after her, and I wanted to know things, so I just started doing research on everything paranormal. And I got into that avenue at first, and I started researching, and I became a member of a large paranormal group in Louisiana. And we would go out and do, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. We would go out and do, plantation homes and and help people and do cases like that. But in the end, I felt like I still was not helping people like we should. And then one thing led to another, and I ended up with Ralph, and I'm doing things the way that I think we should be doing it now.
Oh, that's a great story.
Mhm.
Well, we have a couple minutes left before break. Deb, could you tell us how you got interested in the investigation aspect?
Well, throughout my life, I noticed that I was sensitive and in tune with the paranormal. And when my son was about 3 years old, we moved to Lake Arrowhead, and unfortunately, we moved into a house that had a malevolent human spirit and a demonic infestation. And it was so oppressive and negative that fortunately I was helped by the first pastor that I reached out to, but he was choked in my basement.
What?
And it was actually written up. Yeah, it was written up in a small book that he published later. It was so traumatic for him because he was a young pastor and never had any type of negative paranormal experience before. And again, fortunately, we were able to move shortly thereafter, but a man in his early 40s had died less than 2 years prior to us moving in, and it was not disclosed in the lease at the time. So, and
What?
my son's father, being an agnostic cop, it was quite rattling to him, and I actually became a Christian through that experience. So that was when I first became aware of the negative angle of the paranormal and spiritual warfare.
Wow! I don't
But
want
that was
to. I don't want to skip past the pastor getting choked. What were the circumstances around that?
as
Was
far
he
as
doing a
what? As far
prayer?
as the history?
Well, did he just
Yeah,
walk?
he was in there. He was in there praying, and I had reached out for help because my son was starting to describe things at 3 years old that was really confusing. And then we also confirmed from the county coroner that there was a death in the house, and the man's possessions and belongings were still in the house. And then I found out from a neighbor that the man that had built the house had molested his daughter and her friends in the house, and there was a prior drug abuse history, and it was just a mess. And I'm highly sympathetic to all the cases that we encounter at this point because I know firsthand what it's like to live that way. You live in a pressure cooker.
So,
And
wow. So after being choked,
yeah.
he continued the case, or did he get extra help?
After being choked, he got scared, but he prayed it off, and he came up bewildered, and he did not tell me at that moment what had happened to him, but he gave me his home phone number and told me, feel free to call me. And with my uncle being a pastor, I knew darn well I was not going to call him because I know how much of a how much pastors are put upon just with their normal ministry. But I found that odd but sweet. And I thought the activity was gone because we had done our prayers and gone through the house and the whole bit. But no, about 4 days after, the activity just flared up and became really bad. And I called him crying around 7 o'clock at night one night. And even, like I said, my non-believer police officer husband at the time was scared out of his wits. And so then at that point, he had already had some missionaries he had contacted and was on standby for me. And I was able to witness basically a house exorcism firsthand. So that was a long time ago. That was about 16 years ago.
And and how long did you stay in that house afterwards?
Oh gosh, we had to stay in there. We wound up purchasing a home. Oddly enough, it was much older, but no activity whatsoever. We had to stay there about 2 months after that. It was bad, and I don't feel it was resolved. But I learned from the missionaries at that point and through my faith the power of prayer and the power of using the name of the Lord, in demonic confrontation, and it was incredible.
And for them, those are great stories, and thank you for sharing them with us. I just want
Mhm.
to tell people in the chat. I mean, people that aren't in the chat, we're dropping your links in the chat room to your Demon Files page. For people that aren't in the chat that are just listening, how can they find your page on Twitter or Facebook or whatever?
Well, we have the Demon Files Facebook page up, and I am also on Twitter under Dog Girl with 2 R's, and basically you can find me on Facebook. It's under Debra Aguayo, and it's
And that's the same for me.
Aguayo.
Oh, the G's silent.
Yeah.
I did. I didn't know that. Anyways,
It's a
we didn't even
quiet G.
start with the Demon File stuff yet, and we're already on break. So we'll be back right after these important messages. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the Haunted Chronicles. I'm Mr. Haunted. I'm joined by Kayne and Debbie from the Demon Files on Destination America. And this is also home of your guaranteed halftime shout out. So thanks for coming to the chat. Debbie D, Dr. David, Indy Dwayne, Barry, Sprinkles, Denise Pridemore, Valerie, Maggie Renee, Tiffany, Paul, our executive in charge. Thank you for sharing all the links. Karen, Brian, Nicholas, Chad, Kevin, Jojo, Chubby Spaniel, Wes Jameson, Corey, Frankie B, Candy, Amy, Linda, Bobby Ann, Joni, and assorted guests. Thank you for coming tonight. So,
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
yeah, thank you very much. And I was going to say, next week, we have a guest that is founder of the Indian Paranormal Team, Sarbhaji Mohanty. He'll be joining us next week from India. There goes our budget for the year, but thank you. So, fellas, for the Demon Files episodes that you are already finished, how did the cases? How were the cases chosen?
Well, the cases are just like any other cases. They come to us. They request help from us, and we vet them, which means just like any other investigator, we would Ralph actually assigns one of the investigators the case, and we call them and speak to them, and there's just a long amount of stuff we go through to vet the case and determine whether or not it's legitimate, and there's psychological evaluations. There's lots of things that we put into this that people don't even realize that we didn't get into it, on the show. And then once we decide which ones were, well, of course we take cases all the time, but those three that we picked for the show, those were just 3 that just happened to be the ones that we were doing around that time. So, and that happened to fall into place and everything at that particular moment. So we just chose those 3 families to help, actually.
Yeah, and it was nice because Ralph was telling me he wanted to be on this show because it gives him the ability to travel around the country and help people, because obviously he can't afford to take the crew all around the country all the time. Exactly. So that's why we need more Demon File episodes.
Exactly. Right.
Amen to that.
Yeah, that it allows us to do and go, because we can counsel and talk to people on the phone and try to find them assistance in their local area, but the show allows us to go to them and actually get more involved and do what we need to do. And because we're not in it for the TV show or fame or anything like that at all. That is absolutely, that is the last thing we want. But and no one actually, that's a point I want to make, should be in the paranormal field for that at all. There shouldn't even be I'm sorry, and this may be the wrong show to say this on, but there shouldn't be a paranormal field per se as your job. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You should not be taking money and going around the country to do this. You should
No,
do this as a work of mercy, as an act of mercy to help your fellow man. And that's how we look at it, and that's how we work as a group.
this is the right show to talk about that on because I've never taken a penny in 25
Well,
years.
exactly,
Yeah,
right.
it is a ministry, and it becomes a conflicting. It's just once you become dependent on a ministry to support yourself financially, you lose control over the purpose behind it, and that's just something none of us want to be involved in.
Right. And actually, it's not going to work. I can tell you that because God is not going to allow it to work.
Exactly.
And I have a couple more questions. One is there's a lot of people that contact. Let's not talk about me. There's a lot of people that contact you guys that you can't get to. They're far away or something. How would you recommend that they help themselves if there's
Well,
nobody around to help? What can
well,
they
I
do?
currently I currently have an active case that I'm counseling, and she's far. And one of the biggest things that you have to do even before you go into a home and do a home exorcism is you have to really teach somebody spiritual empowerment and spiritual self-awareness. And it's kind of a journey that they have to go through spiritually, and they have to learn how to really strengthen themselves and prepare. So in a way, kind of the distance is a blessing because it really does require that person to build that spiritual foundation before we go into exorcism. So it's a process. It's we really encourage them to deepen their faith and their relationship with God, and to teach them to pray the rosary. And there's a lot of prep work that goes into it. So in a way, being far apart, it really does help that person enable themselves spiritually before we're able to get there.
Right.
Right. Deb's correct on that. And one more thing I want to add is that a lot of people get offended when I ask the question of, have you been psychologically evaluated? And I'm just going to say this too, because that is one of the things that we have to ask. I mean, that's one of the first things you have to ask them. And they get offended because, of course, they want to say, well, of course, I'm not crazy. That's the first thing out of their mouth. But we don't ask that to offend them or anything, but we have to ask because you have to make sure that even the Catholic Church, if we were to have to take this to that level of a solemn exorcism, then we would have to make sure that all of that was done, and investigated, because you have to take that investigation. I mean, everything has to be written down. I also advise them to write every single thing down. Keep a journal. From the second you think that it's paranormal or preternatural, that you start writing it down. The time that it happened during the day, what happened, even if it's insignificant, write it
Yes.
down, because it will be later on. Trust me, you'll think back on that and you'll realize that was significant.
That that's what I tell people. I said, right, just like you said, right, the time it happened, what happened, who was present when it happened, and then I said, keep track of this for me, and then you get back to me in a couple of weeks, and then did you keep track for me? No. I don't know
Well,
why I
it's
added
also
that.
good in helping to determine, what you're really
What you're
dealing with,
dealing with,
because
yeah.
sometimes these things snowball, and like Kayne was talking about, part of the psychological background and evaluation that goes into it is seeing consistency and seeing a pattern. And even if it is psychological, if we can provide them some sort of spiritual comfort, then we've done our job too, and you just you just never really know what you're dealing with until you really get in depth. And so it's really important that you do have that long interview process.
There's something I was curious about because everybody doesn't have a big giant mansion, and I was just curious to know what this scene looks like in the room that you're filming in for the TV show. Like, what I mean, along with you investigators, what other people are in the room with you at the time?
Wow, it could be a cameraman, like 2 or 3 camera people, and you may have an assistant, and then 2 investigators, and then maybe Ralph usually will just walk in and out. He's kind of just flowing throughout the house, and we're just kind of being extremely quiet, I can tell you that, and extremely still. The cameramen are told that from the get-go, because I can assure you that on this show, it was definitely reality TV, because it was real. They were told up front that this is serious, and we had a big meeting before, how serious this is. We had St. Benedict medals were placed on every single camera, every phone, everything, every piece of equipment. Yeah, and it was explained to them, even regardless of their belief system, if they, whatever, they were still required to have that on them at all times, and be extremely quiet and respectful of the ritual.
Another question: did you have anything odd happen to you during the filming of any of the episodes, personally?
Go ahead. Well, we had, yeah, we had a couple of little small things.
Yeah, we had. I was
odd,
touched,
Jimmy.
Yeah, touched, and there is some suspicion. I'm not 100% sure exactly what had happened, but there was some question as to whether or not I was scratched. But I didn't really make a big deal about it because it was after the fact, anyways. But definitely I was touched.
All right.
And
yeah,
it was
that happen a lot, to where sometimes you'll be brushed up against or pushed. But I will say that, in the Tennessee house especially, we had a lot of activity. And when Ralph was going in and out of the rooms, I was there. I mean, I went straight up and checked those cameras. And what I'm talking about is the IR cameras. Whenever he would go in with the crucifix during the ritual, our camera was placed. Brian and we went up and placed that camera before, and it was in the corner set behind the closet. And every time Ralph and Mark would enter the room, and I think Mike was with them, and they would enter the room, even before it would change over color. And the only way that's going to happen is from a light source. So after this, during the ritual, Deb was sitting there, and everybody was freaking out, like, what's going on? It only happens in that room. And that is the room where the activity started, and we think it was coming from that closet. So after everything settled down, we went upstairs, and I tried to debunk it over and over. Brian and I jumped on the cables. We went and we took flashlights, tried to shine the light in every direction to recreate it. Nothing could recreate that at all. Only when Ralph would go in with the words from the ritual did it do that. And then when we slowed it down on our investigation review the next day, if you slow that down really slow, and I guess they couldn't do it for the show, but you can see it. It's a shadow figure, and it runs from the closet out and runs back in. You can see it move.
Yeah.
And it was running. It was running from Ralph and Mark every time he would come in. So if that's not proof right there, and then there's some other things that happen, but
there was so much that happened in that house. It was just insane.
I remember
they had to cut out. They had to cut out stuff.
Yeah. That was one of my questions. Was there stuff cut out that
Oh yeah,
would be interesting to the viewers?
Yeah, it could have been a 2-hour show, but we couldn't do that.
So I think a lot going on in the basement, right, Kayne? There was a lot of activity down there.
Definitely.
That it could easily be a 2-hour show.
Oh, I got a good.
It's been there for. It's an old house, and it has a lot of history.
I have a good question.
Sure.
For each case that was there 3 episodes so far, or 4?
3.
3.
Um, how long do you stay at each location for the 1 hour episode?
It's about 4 days. We get there and we well, just due to filming. Now, on a normal case, if we were not filming, we would probably just go and it would, it wouldn't take that long. But due to filming, you have to, you're like on their schedule. So you have to go and we do the first day on our part anyway, we do the investigation. And well, first we go and we look around the house and the property and everything and talk to. We really don't actually know a lot about the case. Ralph does not let us know a lot about what's going on because he wants us to kind of see, to see what we feel and see, and not get, preconceived what other people have put into our heads. So we get there and then the next day we go back and we do the actual, if, that's a big if we feel that we can, that the people have been honest with us and everything, then we can go back and and we feel that they're going to follow up on what we've told them to do, then we'll go back the next day and we'll do the exorcism of the house and the property.
And I probably switching topics drastically here, but I posted a picture. I hope you're familiar with it. Somebody posted it on your demon file page, and it's an image of a face. Almost looks like it's a screen in front of it. And like I think somebody found it while they were watching one of the episodes that you didn't catch live.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I posted it in the chat. You know what I'm talking about? The
Yes.
face.
Yes.
Could you tell us where that was and how it happened, or like I can't tell what it is from the picture, like where it happened.
I'm uncertain as to where the viewer caught that image, but the ironic part of that is that that image is quite similar to what Sean had drawn from what he saw, and then also what one of the case victims, Leanne, had seen in the past. So it kind of tied everything together, oddly enough, and I don't believe that the viewer was really aware of that, and it was just a very odd cut and, very interesting.
Actually, that was from that was from before it was even aired on national television, I believe. They took that. It was someone took that and sent it to us. They had just caught it while they were reviewing the tapes, I believe, is what he told us. And that's why also, because it was like we know it wasn't probably messed with or anything, so when we got it, it was something to look at. And I believe we just put it out there just to see what everyone thought, and it is interesting.
And guess who just joined us in chat? Sean.
Hey.
Sean can tell you about the picture more, actually.
Sean, call up. No, I don't think we have enough time. We'll have Sean on too soon. What was your scariest moment, including in your whole lifetime? What was the scariest thing that's happened to you on a case?
On a case?
Mm. Door slammed in my face. I had my steel-toed Dr. Martens on too, and I just about broke my friend's foot. I rarely run, but I was ready to run on that one. That caught me off guard.
Did he have large talons?
All right, Napoleon.
I didn't see anything.
Kayne, what's yours?
I caught that. The scariest thing, I guess, other than what's personally that I've seen happen on a case, I had something at a plantation home here in Louisiana. It came up and whispered right in my ear. I could feel the breath in my ear. It was the same thing. And then it said help, like really breathy in my ear. And then the next day, going over EVPs, this was back when I investigated, like doing paranormal investigations years ago. And I heard the same exact voice was downstairs at that same home, the same night. And I think it was around the same time that it was in my ear. And it was just so freaky, just knowing, because it was right there. And something about when they say help or something in things like that, it really makes me sad, you know.
Yeah. I have a quick question. Do you think, what's your opinion? And we only have a couple of minutes left, so if you could do it in a sentence or two. Um, when you're not sure, when you're not positive something's demonically infested a home, do you think it could be dangerous to do like a blessing of the house, or do you think it can't hurt? What's your
It
opinion
depends
on that?
on if the person is prepared. Are you talking about are anybody out there listening if they should just go into a demonic infestation and attempt a house blessing?
Yes.
I would say no. It's absolutely dangerous, and unless you're spiritually prepared and experienced in this, it can be very dangerous, and it can backfire on you, and it can follow you home. So it's something that has to be taken very seriously and referred to an experienced qualified demonologist, which sadly there are not that many out there.
We have 2 minutes left. Could you guys tell us how we can reach um, the powers that be to tell them we want more Demon File episodes? Is there any way that we could help out?
Destination America is all I know. The Destination America Facebook page, or I believe there's you can go to their Facebook page. There's their website.
Uh-huh.
You can message them, and you can go to our Facebook page, Demon Files, and that's the only way that I know of. And
So
just keep
I
sending
urge
Blow up
us
Twitter.
messages.
Blow
all
up
you
Twitter and
listeners,
tag Destination America.
you see me all week long doing that, guys. I so
You know,
like Devin Kane said, go to Destination America's page, Demon Files page, Twitter Destination America, tell them more Demon Files.
but
I
honestly,
don't
guys,
know if
we do want to
Destination
tell you.
America is connected to our Demon Files page, but if you want to go on Instagram, tag Destination America, you can go on Twitter, or you can go on Destination America's website and just hit them there too. So any support is greatly appreciated.
And we want
All right.
to, yeah, that's what I wanted to say is thank you everyone for sticking by us and everything. But, you know, we are still here and we do still help people and everything. So even if there is not a show, I mean, we still are here and we don't know what's in the works. I mean, you know, something could come up. So, and we may still have some stuff in the works. So don't give up on us.
All right, we'll keep everybody posted. And we're out of time. Next week we have Sarbajit Mohanty from the Indian Paranormal team. Thank you, Deb and Kane, for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And
Thank
good
you.
night. Good night,
Good
listeners.
night.
See you next week on the Haunted Chronicles.